Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So I have some pretty interesting information and some polls to share. There were polls conducted recently, two specifically, in regard to this Arizona FrAudit. One by a company that typically works with Democrats and then one that is typically aligned with Republicans. So you have a mix there. And what they both concluded is that this completely partisan so-called audit is losing favor with the public. It's a losing strategy when it comes to voters, especially independent voters who are really a determinant factor in Arizona because, Arizona has become a true swing state. So here's the deal. A company called Bendixson and Amandi International, they conducted a poll and it showed that 49% of those surveyed oppose this scam, while only 46% approve. And here's the real kicker is that those who oppose it have a stronger feeling about it. They're much more adamant in their opposition than those who are in favor of this FrAudit. So those who strongly oppose the FrAudit were 5% higher than those who strongly support it. And so even the people who support it are like, yeah, I support it, but it's not that big of a deal. And even though Democratic and Republican voters were split, as you would imagine, right? We all know. Republicans are supportive, Democrats are against it. So it's really split along party lines. However, the independents, like I said, were really a key factor in this. 18% more independent voters were opposed to this FrAudit than the people who agree with it, than the independent voters who actually like the idea of this so-called audit. The poll also found that if a politician supported the FrAudit, voters were less likely to support that person, that candidate or that politician by a 9% margin. So that's this one firm alone, which is the one that I said was more aligned with Democrats, or at least works more with Democrats. That was their results. And when the respondents were given more information about the FrAudit, like when they were told who's actually conducting it and how this company or this person has no experience, and the fact that both Democratic and Republican county supervisors oppose the audit, when voters heard all of that, their opposition actually increased. So it went up to 51%. So this actually tracks with a poll from May, which was conducted by an Arizona-based company called High Ground Incorporated. Their company typically, like I said, works with Republicans. And their poll determined that 55% of respondents opposed the FrAudit and only 41% were in favor. Respondents in this poll, the one conducted by the Republican-aligned company, that poll, the respondents were 11% less likely to support a politician if that politician endorsed the FrAudit. Here's the thing. There are Republicans who are legitimately concerned. They legitimately believe that there was fraud. They have bought into all of these lies by Trump and by all of his minions, that this was a stolen election. So I believe that their heart is in the right place. They believe that what they're doing is correct. They believe that this is, something that needs to be done. So this is actually really sad for those people, because let's say that this FrAudit, by some miracle, actually exposed and turned up evidence of election fraud. Who's going to believe it at this point? Would anyone believe it? I won't. And I'm pretty open-minded about things. But when you have a 100% partisan effort like this, and a majority of the residents in that very state oppose it, and then they're hiding documents, They're refusing to show who paid for it. They're refusing to allow the contracts to come out about who all of the subcontractors are. And then they ship the documents, they ship everything out to another state. Nobody knows where this information went, how it's being reviewed, where it even is. I mean, people think it's in Montana, but they're not sure where. It could be at this one home, which is very odd. You know, what's happening to the information while it's there? Is it being meddled with? I mean, who knows? This has all been done in such a shady way. And when you start off even hiring a completely partisan conspiracy theorist to run the entire clown show, someone who, by the way, has no experience in any of this, how can they expect anyone to view these results as legitimate? I mean, Cyber Ninja's CEO, Doug Logan, he was just outed as being featured in an election fraud documentary. They tried, you know, after people started questioning it and started to realize who he was, they all of a sudden edited the movie and they blurred his face and they distorted his voice, but it was too late. People already know. People know who this guy is. So it appears that the Republicans in the state purposely sought out and hired a Q-loon conspiracy theorist election denier. That was their goal. Because let's face it, that's the rub, right? If they hired a legitimate, nonpartisan company with experience, kind of like they did already twice before, none of this bamboo paper, blue light bullshit would have ever occurred. A legitimate company, a legitimate auditor would have looked at them like they're insane. They would have said, you want me to do what? You want me to look for bamboo? You know, a legitimate election audit company would have produced real results, verifiable results, as the two previous companies did. And they can't have that, right? So I think there's two competing intentions here. There's two different camps. Like I said, on one hand, you have Trump supporters who have bought into this. They bought into the whole thing, hook, line, and sinker. They absolutely, with their whole heart and soul, believe this BS. They believe everything they've been fed about the election fraud. But then you have the people in charge who know, they know damn well that there's no election fraud, but they also know that they have to pretend that there is so they can continue to enact these racist, suppressive voter laws. I mean, if they're not allowed to cheat to win in the future, how are they going to win? They've seen now what their policies have wrought. They see now that by going full Trumpian, full Retrumplican, that the people are turned off, people are sickened by it, and that the majority of America doesn't want it. And so these are the people who know, we can't possibly hire a legitimate company because that's going to topple the whole Jenga game. And I mean, we already did that twice and it didn't come out the way we wanted. So third time's the charm, right? But we have to put in a shill. But if you think about it, like I said, it's actually sad for the voters, because if I was a Trump supporter and I honestly believed that election fraud occurred, I would want to bring in a company that's above reproach. I wouldn't want to give the other side a single argument against findings if I was 100% certain that I was right and that the election was rigged. So essentially, they've ruined their own argument, and they've ruined any chance of convincing others that this is legitimate. of any legitimacy of the end product, whatever they supposedly find. It's automatically going to be viewed through a lens of, okay, yeah, cyber ninjas. Yeah, Doug Logan, conspiracy theorist, bamboo paper, blue lights, my pillow guy, Overstock CEO. So, too bad, because if they really did have, which they don't, but if they really did have a legitimate case and there was really election fraud, they just screwed themselves. And now they're going to be like the boy who cried wolf, because they just keep saying it over and over and over again, and there's no proof of it. And so nobody's going to pay any attention to them in the future, and nobody's going to take them seriously. Anyway, guys, if I hear any more, I'll let you know. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.